Jailbreak Guide. So today we're taking a look at the third implementation of Patience to Jailbreak, or P2JB, the kernel exploit that works up to 12.70, but can take up to 2 hours to load. And this implementation uses the YouTube application, so we finally have a YouTube jailbreak implementation of this exploit. It can only work up to 12.40 with the YouTube jailbreak because that's as high as YouTube jailbreak works on. The licenses were removed after 12.40, so it will only go up to 12.40. You could, of course, check your firmware version by heading into your settings on your PS5, going to the system settings and console information, and in there you can find your firmware version. So you can do this up to firmware 12.40, but currently it will crash the console if you close out of the YouTube application after loading the jailbreak. So you can still set this up to 12.40 to prepare for when this issue is fixed and we can use this to fully jailbreak. But this really benefits people up to 12.0 right now, because you guys can of course use this to unpatch the Blu-ray jailbreak up to 12.0 and then use that older Blu-ray jailbreak to jailbreak within a few seconds from then on. And that's mainly going to be the focus of the setup here in this video. And this was ported by Matum6 and Claude, so we download this as a zip file. We also want to download the latest YouTube jailbreak implementation from Gagine. We want to download the backup file. This version does require restoring a backup, which does reset your console, so I would recommend making your own backup file first so you don't permanently lose all of the data that's on your console. So I always recommend making your own backup and then restoring the backup. For YouTube jailbreak, we cannot really install the download 0.dat file manually unless you have a previous jailbreak that you can use, but if you have a previous jailbreak, you probably won't be doing this anyway. So next we have the Blu-ray and patching payload, of course, so we want to download the ELF file for that. And of course, if you don't have the Blu-ray jailbreak set up yet, you will also need to head over here to the BD Jailbreak Autoloader release. There's many different ISOs that you can use. This is just the one I tend to use here. So you can download this Autoloader ISO file and then burn it to a Blu-ray disc with software like Image Burn, where you just select Write Image File to Disk, you drag the ISO N, and then you simply select the option to write the image file to the disk. Make sure you have a blank Blu-ray disc or rewritable Blu-ray disc inserted into your Blu-ray drive, and then you can burn that disc so that you'll be able to use that Blu-ray disc to jailbreak the console once we have unpatched the Blu-ray jailbreak using P2JB. And one more thing that's recommended once you have the jailbreak fully set up is to also grab yourself Nano DNS, which will allow you to connect to the internet on the PS5 to get all your payloads installed and set up. So you can go ahead and download nanodns.elf file. We also want to grab a Netcat GUI or some other payload injector we can use to send the unpatching payload. So next, we want to grab ourselves a USB drive that's formatted in exFAT format. If you right-click and go to Properties, just make sure the file system is exFAT. You can always reformat it in exFAT format if it's in a different format. And then we're going to open up the Y2JB backup file and extract the PS5 folder to the root of the USB drive. Then if we open up the project for Patience to Jailbreak, we're going to open this up. And we want to extract this elfloader_13.20.elf file to the root of the USB drive as well. And that's all we need there. And then we also want to extract the P2JB.js file over to our desktop, which is our kernel exploit. And we can also copy our nano DNS file over to the root of the USB drive as well. So now we just need to plug in that USB drive into the PS5, and on the PS5, we're going to head down into our system settings. We're going to go to System Software, Backup and Restore, and then we're going to restore your PS5. Again, I highly recommend making your own backup first. Back up your own PS5 to the USB, and then extract that backup somewhere safe on your computer. You can always restore it so you don't permanently lose any data, because restoring this backup will effectively factory reset the console. So make sure you've done that. If you have anything valuable on your PS5 that you don't want to lose, any save files or installed applications, and then we can go ahead and restore your PS5. We're going to select the YouTube jailbreak backup and restore that onto our console. We'll say yes and let that do its thing. Okay, so we're back after restoring the backup file. So now if we go into our settings, go to our network settings, we want to go to settings and go to set up an internet connection. We're going to press options on our registered network. Now, if you're using a wireless network, you'll need to set up the wireless network from scratch, which does not mean selecting one of the found networks. You'll have to actually go and set it up manually, and then select Use Wi-Fi, enter manually, and then enter all of the information about your Wi-Fi network manually. So the SSID, which is of course your router name, essentially, and then you've got your security method, which is normally WPA/WPA2 personal, your Wi-Fi password. You can set automatic IP, DHCP do not specify, but you need to set the DNS setting to manual, and it's recommended to set it to 127.0.0.2, but I would probably set it to 127.0.0.1 so that you can use things like nano DNS to get connected to the internet. So that's what I normally set it to, and then you can click done and get connected. If you're using a wired connection like me, it's a bit easier because you can just press options on the wired LAN and go to advanced settings and then go down to the NS settings manual and set that to either 127.0.0.2 if you don't want internet access at all, or 127.0.0.1 if you want to eventually connect to the internet once you're jailbroken. So that's what we're going to do right there, and then we should be good to go. So if we head over to our media section, okay, so we should have everything set up and ready. Now we've got our YouTube application showing up. You can see there it is fully installed, and also I've got the Blu-ray disc inserted. If I try to run it now without unpatching it, it will tell me that it failed to escape the app sandbox and will not allow me to run the Blu-ray jailbreak. However, if I can unpatch the Blu-ray jailbreak using P2JB with the YouTube application, then we should be able to get that working. So let's go ahead and load the YouTube application, which should run the YouTube jailbreak. The Y2JB, there it goes, detects the firmware version, and it's listing on my PS5's IP address on port 50,000. So you can see they're awaiting connection on 192.168.137.227 on port 50,000. So now we just need to send the P2JB, the jailbreak payload, by opening up Netcat GUI or some other payload injector, entering the PS5's IP address in the host box. I believe it was 227, and also the port number, which is going to be 50,000 in this case. So 50,000, and then we drag in P2JB.js right here, and then inject the payload. And when we click inject payload, we can see it starts running. There it goes, P2JB port v2. So once we send the file over, you can see here it says host OK, starting 2-hour leak. No further log output until stage 0. This is normal, do not interrupt. So you just have to wait now the 2 hours for this to complete. Once it's done, hopefully you will have the jailbreak loaded. Again, it can fail. Sometimes the kernel exploit's not successful and you have to load it again. But hopefully if you can get it to load at least once, then we will be able to successfully unpatch the Blu-ray jailbreak with this. Not only that, but make sure that you keep the USB drive plugged into your console because that has the ELF loader, which will be loaded once the jailbreak is successful. So you need to make sure that USB drive remains plugged into your console so it will be able to load the ELF loader from the USB drive once the jailbreak is successful. So keep that plugged in for the entire time. Now you can get an indication on whether it's going to be successful or not at running the jailbreak by just looking at the first line after executing the payload where it says master equals 35, 36. Really, you want that first number, the master equals, to be 34 or less, preferably 33. And the higher the number, I believe it means the busier the YouTube application is when you loaded the payload, and the busier it is, the less stable it's going to be when running the kernel exploits. So if you can see that it's higher than 34, I would even say 34 might be a bit too high. So preferably you want that master to equal 33 or lower, and then it should be more stable. So if it's like this where it's 35, I would actually just restart the YouTube application and then just try and load it again, maybe wait a little bit longer after loading the YouTube application before sending the payload, and see if you can get that master number down below 34 preferably, and that gives you a better chance of the kernel exploit being successful after the 2-hour wait. Okay, so this is my third attempt at loading this. Luckily, this time it is successful. As you can see, we get the fast kernel rewrite debug settings enabled, and we are all good. We have the ELF loader loaded as well, which says you can now send the Blu-ray unpatching payload. So that is what happens when it runs successfully. If it fails, it will just turn your console off and you'll have to reboot and run it again until it eventually works, taking about 2 hours each time. It's a bit of a involved process, but hopefully you get lucky and get it running on the first time. In my case, it took 3 attempts, unfortunately, but anyway, now we can go ahead and send the Blu-ray unpatching payload by opening up Netcat GUI, dragging in the Blu-ray unpatch.elf file, and changing the port number to 9021 to run through the normal ELF loader now. So when we click Inject Payload, we get the notification that the BDJ stack file is patched. In my case, it was already patched, of course, because I've already unpatched it previously, but you will get your BDJ stack file patched, and that will allow you to now use the Blu-ray jailbreak. So you can see we are jailbroken with P2JB, we have debug settings enabled, but of course, when we go to close the YouTube application, it is just going to crash the console. But now that doesn't matter because we can jailbreak up to 12.0 using the Blu-ray disc now, and that jailbreak will only take a few seconds. Okay, so now that we've unpatched the Blu-ray jailbreak and rebooted our PS5, we can now jailbreak the console up to 12.0, of course, using just the Blu-ray disc. So we can go ahead and load this Blu-ray disc, and this should get us jailbroken within a few seconds instead of 2 hours, because the Blu-ray jailbreak is unpatched, so we are able to load it here. It's executing the kernel exploit, and that was successful, so just a few seconds there, and now it's starting the outloader. And there we go, suspended the displayer, it closes the displayer automatically, and then it loads up the Payload Manager, and now we can kind of get our payload set up. So I'll just do a quick run through of this. We go into our settings here, and we uncheck the box to open the web browser. We check the box to scan USB payloads. I change the auto-load delay down to 3 seconds. We head over to Manage Payloads, and then we've got Nano DNS that's on our USB drive. We move to internal storage, and we'll say move to internal, and that moves it there. Then if we go into the dashboard, we can load Nano DNS by selecting it, and that will load the payload, and that should give us internet access. So if we go to Manage Payloads here, we can see it gets updated with all of the available payloads now that we have an internet connection. I can also press the Options button and reload the page because sometimes it might not refresh automatically. And then you have all the different payloads that you can download. Now, a lot of people ask me about ETA-hen, like why not use ETA-hen? ETA-hen's not really been properly updated, at least not with the official release, to support 12.0 yet. You can use test builds, which I believe do support it, but generally on 12.0 the recommendation is to just use KStuff Lite and Shadow Mount for now. So we can go ahead and install Shadow Mount Plus, which allows us to mount our PlayStation 5 game backups. We can also install the FTP payloads for file system access. We can also install, of course, KStuff Lite, which allows us to load our PlayStation 5 game dumps on our PS4 fake packages. So those are the ones that I would, recommend installing initially here. And then we can go and auto-load those payloads whenever the jailbreak is loaded again by enabling the auto-loader and then adding things like the FTP server, adding Shadow Mount Plus, KStuff Lite, and Nano DNS to our auto-load sequence so that whenever we reload the jailbreak again, it will automatically load those payloads. So just to show you guys here, here's me loading the BD jailbreak autoloader again, and this time you can see after it loads successfully, it starts autoloading all of our payloads, starting with FTP, and then going through and doing all of the others. KStuff gets loaded, Shadow Mite gets loaded, and so does Nano DNS for our internet access. So that is basically how you get everything set up for unpatching the Blu-ray jailbreak, and now using the Blu-ray jailbreak to jailbreak within a few seconds from now on. Now, again, for people up to 12.40, you'll just have to wait a little bit longer for the problem where closing the YouTube application crashes the console. That will be fixed fairly soon, I imagine, because it's already been fixed with the Lua exploits. So I suspect this will get updated, or another version of this will release that will effectively not have that issue, and you'll be able to use P2JB. You will have to wait an hour or 2 hours to actually jailbreak the console up to 12.40 with this. But at least you don't need any additional games like the Japanese games or Star Wars Racer Revenge to be able to jailbreak up to 12.40 using this, but you guys will have a more convenient solution, and I'll have an updated video once a better solution is available with a KStuff release that supports up to 12.40. So anyway, that's going to do it here, so hope you guys enjoyed this video or found the information useful. If you did, please give a like and subscribe, and as